Hi, Ray.
Hello.
Welcome. I want to thank you for meeting me uh, via Zoom because I am getting over a cold and I didn't want to infect you with that. So I really appreciate you being flexible with this meeting.
Thank you.
And I wanted to ask how like your week went. How did last week go for you?
Yeah, thank you for being courteous of that. And I hope you're feeling better. I think the last week has been good, except I did get a text message to do cake pops for a veteran fundraiser next month, so I can schedule it out. And of course, I said yes.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
at least at on one end, you set enough time for yourself, you can give yourself that grace right there. That's probably something at least you're like, hey, I know that this has to be done. I can time that accordingly instead of like a last minute kick pop thing that you seem to find yourself doing often. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Okay.
And
So
for a
what I
good
was, huh?
and it's for a good cause.
It is for a really good cause, absolutely. So what I was thinking that we can do today is something called the pros and cons matrix, all right? So we're going to talk about like advantages and disadvantages of changing your what you're trying to do, your goal, and not changing it, okay?
Okay.
So for this exercise, essentially we're gonna set the goal, and I know you talked about saying no, essentially setting boundaries. What would you say your goal is?
Yeah. I love to help, but when it comes in the way of my school and family time, that's where it becomes a problem.
Okay,
So I need to find a balance of where it's like a healthy level to be helpful, but not bombard myself.
okay. So you're looking for a healthy balance with your boundaries then,
Yeah.
and specifically saying no.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm wondering what are some of the good things that might happen if you don't change anything? If you continue to say yes to every cake pop that needs to be made in the whole world, what are some of those advantages that you can see if
Everybody
you don't
will
change?
enjoy my cake pops.
Okay.
They're better than Starbucks. They're pretty yummy and they're hard to make, so people know they're like worth the goods.
Okay. Um, what are some of the disadvantages or cons if you decided to keep things the same?
I would feel stressed and fall behind on my schoolwork. And then I have to tell my kids Friday night, we can't do this because I have cake pops to make.
So you would feel stressed, get behind in school, lose out on family time.
Yeah.
Okay. And I am writing this down only to fill in the box so I can send it to you and then we can have it for our next meeting to go over. Okay.
Okay.
I don't want you to
Thank
think I'm
you.
writing notes or stories about you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So can you think of anything negative that would come from changing um the way you respond when people ask for things? So like what's something negative that you can think of by saying no?
I feel like I'm mean when I say no. I feel like I'm being greedy. It's maybe like selfish.
So essentially you would feel like maybe you're disappointing the
Yeah.
people that are asking you for this.
Yeah.
Well, it makes sense that you would feel that. It's natural when somebody asks us or they are in need of something and you know that you can fill that need, but you might feel overwhelmed by meeting that need. So it makes sense that you would have that like connotation of like disappointing other people. Um, why don't you tell me some good things that might come from setting that boundary for yourself and saying no?
So ultimately, in my future line of social work, I want to be good at setting boundaries. So I want to learn now. So I don't work, I stay home. And so I'm very lucky to do that. But someday I will work
Mhm.
and miss my time with my kids. And so I want to have it be easier now to learn to say no for my family and future job.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. That's good that you're trying to get a hold of it now while you're in school, especially because this is like, I feel like they prepare us very well in school to be completely stressed out as if we were at work, right? With the school load and the assignments and papers and stuff. So that's a really good reason I would say to want to change and have that as an advantage. Um, so we talked about what happens if we don't change anything, right? Everyone is happy except for Ray.
Yeah.
Uh, a disadvantage of not changing. You continue to make cake pops for everyone in the world, and you're stressed. You get behind in school, and you lose out on some valuable time with your family, it sounds like. And then if you change something that you would feel is like you're being mean or selfish and like maybe you might disappoint other people, but the advantage is that you said that you would be able to set boundaries in your future as a social worker, um and also I can kind of see in here a pattern that like you would have the time with your family, right? And that you would have the time for schoolwork, and it sounds like it would reduce your stress level as well, right? Okay. So what I want to do is sort of rate where you're at in this line of like process of change, right? So on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being not important at all, 10 being extremely important, how would you rate how important it is to you to be able to set this boundary?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's pretty up there because this is something I've always struggled with.
Mhm.
As if it's not cake pops, it's offering up my services and then I'm super stressed and don't have time for things. So this is like I've been very young and this has been an issue. So it's probably up there like a 9, like
Okay.
not, not unhealthy or dangerous, but it's been a problem for a long time and wanting my future goals, this is pretty important to me. So maybe a 9.
All right. I'm wondering, how come it isn't an 8 or a 7?
Yeah, that's good. So I feel like 10 would be like dangerous and 8 to like it's kind of just a thing. So kind of somewhere in the middle of, I'm not gonna hurt myself, but it's something on the other end. Like it's pretty important to me.
Okay. Okay. So you would say that like a 9 is so important, but the reason why maybe it's not a 7 or an 8 is because you've been dealing with this for a while and you were ready to prioritize it.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm wondering, what would you say is the number one reason why it's so important to you?
Probably my family, making time for the family. The kids are growing up so fast. I just got to
Mhm.
get every second with them that I can.
Yeah, I get that. I totally get that. What would be another reason?
To prioritize my schoolwork because that's something I do in the evenings, and that's normally cake pop time, is I'm missing out on homework time,
Okay.
my homework.
And then the third reason why it's so important to you?
Is I get stressed out, grumpy.
So to like reduce the stress
Yeah.
of it all. Okay. That's really good. So I got family time, prioritizing school and homework, and reducing stress are why setting this boundary is super important to you.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna do another scale with you. The number 1 to 10, 1 being no confidence at all, and 10 being high confidence. Um, how confident are you in making this change?
Ooh, that's going to be a lower number. Confident. I feel like I can be a pretty confident person, but
Mhm.
this is something that has been years and years in the making.
Right.
So maybe I just don't like to disappoint people. So that's really hard. Like a 6.
A 6 is good though. Like
Is it good? Okay.
I mean, yeah, I mean, a 6 is good. That means that you're not a 5, right? You're not a 3. Like you're not a 0 or a 1, right? So it means that you have some grasp, like that you can do it. You know what I mean? Um, so I'm wondering, like, what is like what is it about? So like you said, 6 out of 10. So why isn't it a 2 or a 3?
Because I've done some pretty hard things in my day, so I know that things can be done. I have confidence in myself that when I put my mind to something, I'll make a way to fit it in.
That's kind of a big deal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. Okay. So we're gonna kind of transition into some specific tasks related to setting the boundaries. So I guess you can call it more homework if you want, but we don't have to because it sounds like you have already more than enough homework. So this is just for you. But I'm wondering, like, what is one task that you can do to raise that confidence level up?
That's a good question. Like to raise it up or to like just say no.
Right. So, I mean, so for example, if you're at a 6 out of 10 right now, like what's one thing you can do to get that confidence of being able to say no and set that boundary up to a 7 or an 8 and make you feel even more confident in what you're trying to accomplish?
Probably sadly have to tell somebody no to know that it can get done. And it would be like on the sad end, but then disappointment in, but also know that I did it and it will only get easier.
Know that you did it. Okay. Yeah, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
What's another thing that you can do?
Um, I don't know. That's a tough one.
Yeah,
Um,
because essentially practicing is going to help you get there is what I'm hearing. So that's a good one. What's like a backup one?
yeah. Um, I have kind of shared with some of my friends that this is a struggle. So my friend Sarah did not ask me to do her um, cake pops for her party. So as much as I don't want to share my information with everyone, having extra moral support and people kind of cheering me on
Hmm.
kind of helps.
That's a good one. That's a huge one. Like letting people that know that they would normally maybe ask you because like Ray does that, but like sharing with them that this is a struggle for you to say no, and then they're like, oh, okay, well maybe I don't ask Ray. Maybe I won't have the best cake pops in the world, but we'll still get some cake pops and it'll be fine, right? Something along that line.
Yeah.
Um, what is one more thing if you can think of one more thing that you can do?
Probably. So my wife does dispatch for the fire and she's still really busy. She's still working 14 on and 1 off. So I think to plan something like family oriented, even if it's just like a family movie night at home and turn off our phones, more family and like good quality family time might kind of make me appreciate the
Mm.
family time. And I don't know, is that one? Could that be one?
That's a huge one. So what I'm hearing you saying is that like planning intentional family time, turning off your phone and reminding yourself of why you want to set these boundaries, right? Remind you and show you that it's possible, that you don't have to think about cake pops coming out of your ears or anything like that. That's it. That's a really good one. Good job with that one. Um, so we're gonna
Those
go
are hard
over.
questions.
I know, and you did really well. I wasn't sure. I'm like your first question, your first task that you thought of was I thought was a really good one. I was like, oh, I wonder what she's gonna say next. So that's really awesome. So we set this goal, you set this goal for yourself of wanting to set more boundaries, especially when it comes to saying no, or offering up your services or when people ask you for things. We made pros and cons of what that change might look like, right? So advantages of not changing, everyone will be happy. Disadvantages, Ray won't be so happy. Ray might be more stressed out. Um, some disadvantages of making that change. You might feel like you're disappointing others or feeling mean or selfish about your decision to say no. And then some advantages of changing. One, you'll reduce your stress, right? And you want to learn how to set these boundaries for your future career in the social work profession, right? We talked about some really good reasons that you want to change, right? And why that change is so important to you, right? So you want to have more family time, prioritize school, and reduce your stress. And then we talked about the tasks that you are considering to maybe use in that process of setting those boundaries. Um, which were really good. Like I gotta go over them again. Like one, practice telling somebody no, right? And it sounds like you have a lot of big feelings about that. And I think that it's important to recognize that it's okay to have those feelings. And then to also feel okay with like noticing how you feel after you say no, right? Like it might come with some like guilt, but it also might come with, I can imagine, some relief, right? Um, that's huge. Sharing your struggles with people, your friends and family, so they know maybe not to ask you, or they are aware that maybe this is something that might cause you excess stress. And then planning something with your family with no phones to kind of remind you of why it's so important for you to have that time with your family and to not have it tied up in doing things for others. So those are all really, really awesome. And I want to commend you for coming up with those in our time today. Um, I was curious of which one of those tasks you think you might try first, like
Um,
maybe for the week that we have in between this session and next session.
if something comes up, I would love to tell somebody no. I want
Mhm.
to start practicing. So if that comes up, and then in the meantime, working on family time. My wife has worked 14 days and will have Saturday off. So that would be nice to have one family day and like the kids could see her. They haven't seen her. We haven't seen her.
Oh my gosh, I
So
bet you that'll be
family,
such a good day. That'll
yeah.
be so awesome. Um, and I also want to point out that just like I know this session is supposed to be I'm the role of the social worker and you are the role of the client, but just the fact that because we are in a class together and we were trying to propose times to do this particular project, we offered up Saturday and that was like a hard no for you. And that's kind of a big deal too. Because like squeezing stuff in to appease other people's schedule. If it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for you. And that should be applauded. So I'm really proud of you for doing that. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Um, I'm also wondering, so like we have all this stuff laid out of what you are hoping to do and how like kind of a starting place. Has your confidence level changed or increased now that you've laid out the steps to making that change? Or how do you feel about that number 6 still?
Yeah, pointing it out has really helped. So thank you.
Mhm,
The first thing that I think of is disappointing people, but then I have to realize that my family does come first and then like school. Like
mhm.
that's for one is family time and then school. And that I just have to keep reminding myself needs to be the priority.
Yeah, it's so hard too when you have so much on your plate. So that's really great that you can have that self-awareness. Would you say that your level 6 out of 10 has gone up or down or the same since we went over all of this?
Probably close to a 7, maybe a 6.5,
Okay.
get to a 7, yeah.
Okay, I love that for you. That's awesome. Um, do you have any questions about any of the stuff that we went over today?
I don't think so, you said that it sounds like a good plan, like my
Mhm.
plan
Yeah,
was
it definitely does. And what I
okay.
can do is email this to you and send this over to you so that you have like a hard copy and you can just overview it if you want. You can print it out and put it up as a reminder, like whatever you feel like you need to do to be like, hey, okay, this is the good thing about changing this, or this isn't going to be so good or feel so good, and being aware and being present with those emotions and also having that game plan of like, hey, this is important to me because I prioritize my family. I prioritize school and I don't want to be stressed out about all these dang on cake pops, right? And then also like you're confident in these things that you know you want to take action and then laying out some tasks that you can do, like practicing saying no and prioritizing that family time. That's a big deal and that's huge. And you should be really proud of the work that we did this session. I'm
Thank
really,
you.
really excited to see what like hear about what went on for this whole week and to definitely hear about what happened for your family time and how much fun you guys had. So if you don't have any more questions, I will let you get back to your family and your homework. And I look forward to seeing you next week. Okay.
Yep, I'll see you then.
All right. Awesome. Well,
Thank
thank you
you.
so much. And I'm going to stop recording.